movies. Okay, so we did talk about the Oscars, and you can check out that episode, assuming it's not attached to this one. You can check out that episode also on Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher as a separate entity. But right now...
Are you meaning to say episodes?
Episodes?
That's awesome.
Episodes.
Coin that tonight.
Dude,
before
buy that domain, Jim.
Episodes.
Do your thing.
Jim, make it happen. All right, producer's note, Jim's going to buy...
Jim is shaking his head as though he's not going to do it. He looks too busy.
Jim often will just entertain the things. It's kind of like a crosswalk button where I'll push it and nothing's happening. I'll give him an idea. He'll nod approvingly, and then he'll die on the committee
Please
floor.
let me go home to my wife.
Types like he's taking notes.
You got it, Sean. So right now, instead of talking about the best movies of the year, we're talking about the worst movies of the year.
Love that.
The Razzie Awards. Now, we're not going to get too negative. We're not going to actually lambast any individual performance, but we are going to look at the top 5 worst pictures of the year. And then we're going to look at the top 5 redeemed performances of the year. Both are Razzie categories for 2020. And then we're going to also speculate pointlessly as to who should win. So let's talk about worst picture. In the running, we have Cats, of course, The Fanatic, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, A Medea Family Funeral, and Rambo: Last Blood.
Would someone quickly remind me what The Fanatic was?
I just looked it up because I had not seen it either. It was apparently a movie directed by Fred Durst.
Oh.
So you know it's going to be good.
Didn't have what's-his-face? John Travolta?
Yes, that's who it was.
Yeah.
It was a thriller. It did not do well.
Oh, it's like a murderer or something.
It's sitting at 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, there you go.
I didn't see Cats either. Did anyone see Cats?
No, it did so bad day 1 and 2. I wasn't tempted. I don't blame them. It seemed like it had all the formula: a successful musical, a great musical score, a wonderful cast. However, to quote my favorite show, or to reference my favorite show, 30 Rock, there's this sort of CGI to real humanoid matrix where at first you've got real basic CGI like Toy Story where they're not creepy, they're cute. But the closer you get to taking something CGI to an actual human, the creepier it gets. For instance, Polar Express is creepy.
Yeah.
And Cats wasn't necessarily CGI, but it was like humans in a costume crossed with CGI, and it just failed and was
like
terrifying.
Taylor Swift still looks like Taylor Swift, and
except terrifying.
I can't determine if I'm supposed to be sexually attracted to
a cat
or
not.
It's tough. That's why they're too tough to watch. Did you see Alita?
I did.
Did I see it with you?
Yes, you sat next to me and held my hand.
What did you think about that?
It was a fun movie. I think that had I known the story before, because it was of course a graphic novel or anime or manga, I can't remember. It would have meant more to me, but it was fine for a self-contained story. The Haunting of Sharon Tate, I think, was just right on the coattails of Once Upon a Time, because as I was surprised to see, a lot of people my age and younger didn't know the Charles Manson story.
Yeah.
So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is very confusing.
Because it's like Inglourious Bastards where there's a revisionist history.
Yeah, but that's freaking World War II, which is everyone should know how World War II went.
But that's what Tarantino has been doing.
I like revisionist history. It's exciting and fun. But I'm saying World War II is a story everyone that with access to information should know.
You're saying Sharon Tate was more niche.
Well, I'm saying the Charlie Manson murders,
in general.
They should be more obscure than World War II. But I think that movie was trying to ride those coattails. I never saw Medea. Rambo: Last Blood, I mean, what did people expect from that? It's 80-year-old Sly doing his best, man. Well,
I think the expectations for that one were it was a little bit of a red herring because the Creed movies have both been so good. I think people are seeing like, okay, Sylvester Stallone can revisit roles and maybe do something interesting. And so Rambo: Last Blood, I think, was a little bit of a letdown from that lens.
Rambo: Last Blood was just R-rated Home Alone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's well said. It was booby traps, his home turf. Well said.
It was actually the cut of Home Alone they wanted to make, but they didn't get the first time.
Kevin McAllister, a grown-up alcoholic in Arizona.
Home Alone, First Blood.
Home Alone, more a loner than ever.
The most alone. So let's talk about the Razzie Redeemer Award. This is given every year. They take actors and actresses that have previously done some real stinkers or have had a bad streak, and they turn around and they try to celebrate the best of show. And so on the list, we have Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name, as mentioned earlier. We have Keanu Reeves for both John Wick 3 and Toy Story 4. We have Adam Sandler for Uncut Gems again. And we have Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers. And then we have Will Smith for Aladdin. Now, I will say, I don't know if Keanu Reeves really deserves to be in this category because the John Wick series has been around for a little bit.
I think that's just they felt they owed him because John Wick 1 and 2 were obviously his redemption story, and they just are now getting around to it. He doesn't need to be redeemed now. He's Hollywood's favorite guy. Yeah. Not Hollywood's favorite guy, but He's Celebridom's favorite guy.
Pop culture.
Yeah.
Pop culture.
Everyone loves him right now. J-Lo already got all the praise that she needs for the Super Bowl halftime performance. I think she's fine. Will Smith is terrible in Aladdin, and he's been pretty terrible in his most recent movies.
It was brave and dumb of him to take that role, because who's going to replace Robin Williams?
I didn't really care for Aladdin. I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't think it was pointless.
Bravely, I'm going to go on the record and say all these live action remakes of the animated Disney features have been pretty bad. Beauty and the Beast was all tight shots. The movie felt small, and they chose A-list celebrities, actors, which is good because it pulls the crowd in, but they can't sing too well. Aladdin, you can't replace Robin Williams. Lion King,
Mulan's going to be pretty
matter
dope.
too much.
I
think they're taking a new direction where they're not trying to mimic the. I mean, there's no Eddie Murphy's not in it as a dragon, so.
So I feel the process of elimination. It's got to come down to either Eddie Murphy or Adam Sandler.
For sure. Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think Dolomite is based on an era of comedy and entertainment that I'm not familiar with. Well, so a lot of it was lost on me.
It dealt with blaxploitation films of the 70s.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't seen a lot of those.
You weren't there in the 70s?
I wasn't there in the 70s.
I think in terms of, what do you think is the more surprising turnaround? Eddie Murphy coming out of the woodwork and doing a great role, or Adam Sandler doing his first, I guess probably his first real...
I think the most surprising thing of anything is Eddie Murphy coming back to do stand-up. Film-wise, I mean, you could see this coming. Comedians love to do a dark, dramatic role eventually. I thought both of them were leaning... once these famous comedians have kids, they also doing these kids-friendly kids movies and stop being funny, but it seems like both of them, their kids are aging out, so they're trying to charge back as actual threats.
Is Eddie Murphy doing comedy again?
He's doing a stand-up special.
Is he?
He's doing 2 on Netflix, a competitor to this podcast.
That's true.
And is being paid.
Disney's actually our parent company.
I feel like I knew Adam Sandler had it in him because of Punch Drunk Love. So I love when he returns to doing more serious roles because he crushed it in that one. So yeah, Eddie Murphy's definitely the bigger surprise to me.
There you have it. Well, we'll post a poll, but will Eddie Murphy or Adam Sandler or the Sandman take the hardware for a very pointless award? All right, let's talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It seems to be a big topic of discussion on this show. But Marvel's a machine owned by Disney, which is an even bigger machine. And there have been, over 24 films at this point.
Probably.
Pretty close to it, if not. But we haven't seen a Disney version of Fantastic Four because they just bought the property rights from Fox for X-Men, Fantastic Four. And so we'll probably see one before too long here. And there has been a push in the past to see John Krasinski and his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, play the roles of Mr. Fantastic and Susan Storm. And so John Krasinski has also voiced interest, but could we be seeing Jim Halpert and Mary Poppins play the role before too long?
All I can say is nothing is more respectable than a celebrity publicly begging for a role that will make them lots of money. Additionally, John Krasinski, he is forever Jim Halpert in my mind. And I, watched a little bit of that Amazon.
Yeah, did the Jack Ryan series?
The Jack Ryan series.
Did that help separate him at all?
All I can see is him looking at the camera and shrugging like, the world's crazy and I'm normal.
Shoots a terrorist at point blank range.
Identify with me and everything else is weird around here. Put them in a rom-com. I'll also say that probably all the Marvel stuff from here on out will be kind of garbagey because I think the tail end of the last round of Marvel movies was absent Disney's control. Now that they're truly entrenched in Disney, all the movies will be Disney-fied and be garbage like the last 3 Star Wars.
That's an interesting point. But if Kevin Feige's not involved, I think that's definitely true.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, I hate the Fantastic Four.
it's not really done much for me.
That's my opinion.
Beg for a cooler superhero. And the other thing I'll say
Is that what he said? He begged for the role?
Well,
he's just publicly campaigning for it.
Yeah.
Much like Tyrese Gibson is publicly campaigning for a Green Lantern shot, or was at least years ago. I'll also say, do you know that John Krasinski read for Captain America?
Yeah.
And so the story goes is he looked at himself in the mirror in the suit and said, I'm not Captain America, and passed in quotation marks. So
I will say, I mean, Chris Evans was a fantastic casting, so it's hard to see anyone
For
else.
sure.
In that
once you
role.
got sooner in him, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't know. I can see him in the role. I don't care as much. We were talking about like Black Widow. I'm not that excited about it, mostly because after Endgame, it's kind of hard to get ramped up about anything, and then B, it's a role that doesn't really affect the future, and so
Sure, they should have had that movie come out halfway through the 2010s.
yeah. So I think anything without Chris Evans as Captain America or without Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man just doesn't get me as excited.
Sure.
And they also already tried Fantastic Four twice now with
failed.
Chris Evans. And
Yeah.
and with even
Well,
the
then they tried again.
Miles Teller,
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan.
That version seemed bigger, but was worse because that movie felt like a perpetual trailer.
Well, that was Fox trying to keep the rights.
Yeah.
And so they just like rushed something out really quickly. But now Disney's actually getting a shot at it. So, I mean, theoretically,
I know Disney movies that aren't Pixar or Dreamcast largely suck
it's a fair point.
in the last
So
decade.
speaking of Disney sucking, let's talk about
Did you say Dreamcast?
No, is
Disney, Sega,
Is
Dreamcast.
Pixar or
DreamWorks?
DreamWorks the Disney?
DreamWorks is like Shrek and Dragon.
Is that Disney or is Pixar Disney?
Yeah.
That's Universal.
Disney owns DreamWorks.
Okay.
Do they? Okay.
I believe.
Either
Maybe I'm
way.
wrong. Jim, you know?
I thought it was Sony.
Oh boy.
Sony,
wild card.
the
Dark horse.
DreamWorks.
Regardless, Michael
Might have been
Eisner's
Universal.
corpse is on his way
That's
here
right.
to kill
Disney
us
owns
all.
Pixar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sony
A
owns.
frozen Walt Disney is going to strangle us in our
Walt
dreams.
Disney and Mike Eisner are on their way.
So, speaking of Disney's vengeance, they fined an elementary school for showing The Lion King and then publicly apologized.
Love that.
So, the PTA for Emerson Elementary School in Berkeley, California, they were looking to do a fundraiser where they showed the recent adaptation of Disney's The Lion King, and they charged some nominal rate for ticket sales, and it would have gone to their little ones class project or whatever. And when Disney's licensing arm, which is Movie Licensing USA, got wind of the story, they promptly asked the PTA to pay them a licensing fee of $250, which is relatively nominal. But I think it's more the principle of the gesture, because the optics don't look great. With that, Disney CEO Bob Iger personally apologized over Twitter and pledged to donate from his own checkbook. What's the moral of the story here? Don't F with Mickey Mouse? Or did Disney overstep their bounds? Because technically it is their right to refuse.
Totally.
You know, I'm thinking of the boom mic operator and the craft service table person or whatever, whoever is attached to the film. You kind of got to go through this lawsuit. Otherwise, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to show Disney films or anyone's films for fundraisers and such.
Yeah.
Disney should have gone through the lawsuit, turned around and donated the money, won the lawsuit, back to the school, maybe with some cash on top of that for PR.
More just like
But just to set the precedent of, for everyone in the industry, this is intellectual property.
Yeah.
You can't abuse that.
Yeah. I think of that scene in Elf with the very beginning where, what's his name? James Caan's character is dealing with the nun. She's like, the children love the books. And I think that's kind of what this scenario looks like, but I agree. It's their property. And it's like, come on, some, especially in Berkeley, California, like there's got to be a PTA parent there that's like, this is a liability. We can't show this.
Well, that's the thing is like Disney's just doing their job. Like that's just
Right.
baked into like what they're supposed to do. But the school just raised enough hell about it to where it was like, all right, this is a marketing nightmare. We're just gonna waive it and give them a bunch of money so we can get back on the good graces of everybody else. So, but yeah, I mean, it's licensing. It's similar to like music. Like you can't put music in a movie without paying a licensing fee, and usually it's pretty It's pretty up there.
They've got to get the word out there that there are repercussions for that behavior.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. So don't go watching Disney. Don't go charging for Disney movies.
Yeah, don't charge.
If you heard it here, folks, bravely, we all agreed with each other.